So now let's take a look at the knob and tote and refinish those. So again, this is a handyman, so this is painted. I'm not going to repaint it just because I want to show what I typically do on a plane restore. So typically this would be rosewood or mahogany or something like that. But obviously when we get to the refinish part, you can just replace that with paint, and it would be the same. What I've done, I've taken this 1/4 inch bolt, I've taken the grinder to this end a little so it will fit in. It will fit in there. We will put this on like this, like so. The tip's gone out of that, so we'll just keep doing this by hand. Batting 1,000 here, not picking up the right screwdriver. I usually spin that on with the cordless drill, but cordless drill is missing its tip right now. It must have fell down out there or something. So we'll just tighten that up a little bit like that. We will just snug it up in here. It's really just as simple as that. Now I'll work that through probably up to like 600 grit, and then we'll move on to the tote. Okay, we're just finishing this up on the 600 grit sandpaper. You notice I left some of that paint, reminiscent of that paint in there, kind of like that. It kind of shows the history. Gives it a little character. Obviously, if this was rosewood, we wouldn't have that discussion. And it's up to you if you want to sand that all the way back or not. That's personal preference. I like it just like that. The other thing that I wanted to mention here, if I'm doing this with a rosewood knob, I got this little container I throw under there, and that stuff makes some pretty good filler if I'm fixing or repairing a tote that needs some filler. Mix that with epoxy or wood glue or whatever, and there you go. So now we'll tackle the tote. Now again, it's painted hardwood of some kind. Might be beech, I'm not sure. If it's rosewood, we don't have to worry about that paint, but there's quite a few out there that are painted. I typically try to do most of the paint with scraping. I'm just using a regular utility knife blade. If you happen to have a piece of broken glass, that works probably better than anything else I've ever found. I just don't happen to have a piece. So we'll just scrape this off as best as we can. Sometimes you can get most of it. Sometimes you cannot get hardly any of it. Obviously you could use a cabinet scraper. I have tried that, but I still find that this blade, now you notice that this was broke, if you remember back in the beginning. I just glued that with normal Type Bond 3. I don't typically use regular glue and rosewood. I use epoxy, but for hardwood that it works just fine. I have a flat top where you notice this one's a little rounded. A lot of them are flat here. Sometimes I'll take it to the sander, do it a little bit quicker, although this is coming off really easy, which is a little unusual, but I don't do a lot of handyman, so I don't know if it's typical of them or not. And now, start with some rougher sandpaper. And now it's going to be hand sanding. And again, I will sand that right up to probably 600 grit. If it's rosewood, sometimes I'll go as high as 3,000 grit, although that's really not necessary. Might even be a bit of an overkill. But I'll finish that up and meet you back here in a few minutes. So I've got these sanded and hung up. So this is how I typically spray these. Now, I don't always spray them. Once in a while, I may use something like True Oil, which is a wipe-on, or tongue oil. But today, we're going to use this Rust-Oleum spray lacquer. I find the spray lacquer works pretty well. I give it, I don't know, 4 or 5 coats. You can usually coat about once every 15 minutes. I usually spray it, move on, do a few other things, come back, spray it, and just continue that process. I don't typically need to sand it back, although sometimes I will. But I will spray this a few more coats and see you back here in a few minutes. Okay, so we're back. I think we can call this pretty well complete. It's a working hand plane, fully usable. I know that a lot of you who have followed me over the years and know that I'm not a big advocate of the Handyman series, but this one actually came together pretty well. It's probably one of the easiest Handyman hand planes that I've tuned. And it really is working pretty well. And as you can hopefully see, we have saved some of the patina. It's clean, it looks fairly decent. It doesn't look brand new, which isn't what I was going for. And it is a completely usable plane again. I chose this handyman because it's been sitting in here for a while. I don't typically tune handymans anymore because they do tune so hard sometimes, and they take so long sometimes, and there's very little resale value in them. And I've got enough Sargents and Stanley Baileys as users. But this one will make somebody a decent plane. However I choose to get it to them. But as you can see, I think it came out fairly nice. Again, comments are always welcome. Join the conversations that we have on my forum, on other forums, on Facebook, Instagram. Go on out and hit me up. And thanks a bunch for watching.